I'm Father Ed Quinnan, the Superior of the Jesuits in Micronesia and Fiji. Happy to join you as we observe Palm Sunday. Palm Sunday starts off with a triumphant entry into Jerusalem. The Messiah has finally arrived. It's the fulfillment of a promise made long before. But wait, this is not supposed to be the way it happens. He should have come as a warlord, geared for battle. Instead, he's riding a donkey. The triumph fades quickly. Jesus is arrested. Again, this shouldn't be. He's the Messiah. And the disciples scatter. Even Peter the rock becomes the fearful man who denies Jesus. It's understandable, isn't it? They could be next, be arrested. Experiencing the vulnerability, that can be extremely challenging. There are times when it is searing. I find myself in those times losing hope, doubting where I am, where I'm going. I tend to feel unloved, unlovable, unloving. I want to cut and run. This is my personal definition of desolation. As a spiritual director, I often work with people in desolation, and I become a cheerleader. I believe this is a place of growth and development, but I also know it's slow and hard work. I often liken desolation to a tide. It rolls in relentlessly without asking our permission. It's a natural process, not one that I control. And what advice to offer to someone in desolation? Hold the course. Make no new decisions. Stick to the previous good decision. You may have seen the movie The Passion of the Christ. It's a tough movie. I found it searing. There's one scene, it's not in scripture, but it really caught my attention. Mary cleans the courtyard where Jesus had been scourged, cleaning up his blood, his flesh. There are rabbis and devout Jews today in Jerusalem who, after a bombing or other violence, go and clean up the flesh and the blood. Blood and flesh are sacred and must be treated accordingly lest they become unclean. In the face of disaster, one takes steps to right the disaster or to recognize the sacrifice made. The scene of Mary cleaning the courtyard captured that respect and the need to treat reverently the sacrifice. In desolation, one carries forward with good past decisions, often rituals. In the U.S., we have been rocked with violence. In 9/11, we in the U.S. struggled to recognize the sacrifice and the loss. It has engendered a lot of strong emotions. I went to the site where they were sifting through the remains of the buildings. It's a graveyard, but without bodies, but a place of the remains. All recognize the need to do something, but what is the right action? That too is part of desolation. We wait, looking for the grace to lead the way, but while in desolation, the grace is not evident. As a church, I find us moving in and out of desolation over the sexual abuse crisis. It's on the pages of our papers. Some see it as a result of religious vows, adding to our burden. As a desolation, though, this is not a time to change course, but stick with good past decisions. For us now, it is right for us to focus on the Passion, to recognize the cross. We know the cross in its many manifestations. And for some of us, it's a more personal experience. I think of a Jesuit that I had lived with, Kevin O'Brien, who had lung cancer. The treatment looked like it was going well, but then there was a recurrence, the remission ended, and Kevin was dying, and we would sit with him until he finally died. I wanted to cut and run. I hated that hospital room. Only later did I see there was a gift in this vulnerability, an act of intimacy, inviting me into his dying. This happened 25 years ago, but Kevin is still with me. I accompany Kevin in his passion reluctantly, but he taught me a great deal. When we reverence the cross, this Holy Week, I will reverence the cross of Jesus, but also the cross of Kevin, who followed Jesus. Palm Sunday is a time for us to recognize that disasters happen. We are in a pandemic. People are dying. We are surrounded by tragedies. How should we respond? We should continue with our previous good decisions. Let us observe Holy Week. Let us relive Holy Thursday and Good Friday. Jesus on Holy Thursday knew desolation. But what did he do every year? He observed the Passion. But this time he gave it just a little bit more, the bread and wine, body and blood. Can we follow his example? Give ourselves to Holy Week, perhaps investing even a little more of our time and attention this week.